Have you ever felt exhausted by your own kindness? As if, no matter how much you give, it's never quite enough? Perhaps you've started to wonder if there's a cost to being the nice person, the one who always says yes. In a world that often praises kindness as an unquestionable virtue, Stoicism offers a different perspective. Kindness, without boundaries, can indeed ruin your life. Today, we'll explore 5 ways excessive kindness might be working against you. This isn't about becoming cold or selfish, but about understanding when kindness starts to erode our peace, compromise our goals, and make us vulnerable to being used. Stick with us through this journey, especially as we uncover the 5th way, a surprising twist on friendship that could change how you view relationships forever. Are you ready to challenge your own views on kindness? Let's begin with the first and perhaps the most common pitfall of unchecked generosity. 1. You will be seen and treated as fragile. Does constant kindness make us appear weaker than we are? When we habitually go out of our way for others, we may unknowingly be sending a message. We are always available, endlessly forgiving, and willing to take on burdens that others should carry themselves. This perception can, paradoxically, diminish others' respect for us, leading them to see us as someone easily swayed, someone who will always say yes, no matter the cost. Stoicism teaches us to balance kindness with dignity, yet without boundaries, we risk others viewing us as fragile and easy to manipulate. Think about it. When was the last time you said no without feeling guilty? For many, it's an uncomfortable act, one that seems to contradict the virtues of kindness and generosity. But what if saying no could be an act of self-respect rather than selfishness? Setting boundaries isn't about withholding kindness. It's about respecting your own limits. In Stoicism, we are encouraged to act with reason and integrity, recognizing that boundaries protect both our own dignity and our relationships. When we avoid saying no, we invite others to assume that we'll always help, regardless of our own needs or well-being. The issue here is not kindness itself, but rather an unchecked willingness to sacrifice our time, energy, and sometimes even our peace of mind for others. Is it truly kind to let others see us as unendingly available? Or does it foster dependency and, ultimately, resentment? Moreover, when people see us as fragile or overly accommodating, they may begin to doubt our abilities and strength. They might even start to think of us as someone who needs to help in order to feel valued. This can trap us in a cycle of constant giving, where the boundaries between support and exploitation blur. Those who once respected our generosity might start taking advantage of it, expecting us to solve problems that they should handle themselves. In the world of Stoicism, wisdom lies in the ability to offer help without losing our sense of self in the process. So, how do we balance kindness with self-respect? The answer lies in the strength of our no. Stoicism encourages us to develop an inner strength that isn't dependent on others' perceptions or demands. When we say no when necessary, we set the stage for others to respect our time and efforts, recognizing that we value ourselves enough to set limits. Let's consider the story of an overworked horse and a kind-hearted donkey. The horse, weary from its daily labor, shares its exhaustion with the donkey. The donkey, a generous friend, suggests a plan. The horse should pretend to be ill, giving itself a day of rest. The next day, the farmhand assigns the donkey to do the horse's work, leaving it exhausted and bruised by the end of the day. Meanwhile, the horse, rested and grateful, thanks the donkey for its advice. But the donkey realizes it has taken on burdens not meant for it. Does this generosity truly benefit either friend in the long run? By setting boundaries, we empower ourselves and others. When we allow others to face their challenges, we show faith in their strength rather than indulging a sense of obligation that leads to our own burnout. Have you ever found yourself in the donkey's shoes, taking on others' burdens at your own expense? Stoicism teaches us to act with both kindness and wisdom, helping where we can without sacrificing our well-being. As we move forward, consider this. Being kind should not mean allowing others to drain our energy and disregard our limits. As we explore the second pitfall of excessive kindness, we'll see how putting others first too often can push our own priorities aside, leaving us unfulfilled. 2. Your own priorities will take a backseat. How often do you find yourself putting others' needs before your own? When kindness becomes a habit of overextending ourselves, our own priorities and dreams start to fade into the background. By constantly saying yes to others, we risk saying no to our own lives, ambitions, and goals. Stoicism emphasizes the value of a life lived with purpose, rooted in our personal principles and values. Yet, when we let others' needs consume our time and energy, we stray from that path, neglecting our own well-being and growth. Imagine a person who, out of kindness, constantly agrees to work overtime, volunteer for projects, and offer support, all at the expense of personal growth. This person might believe they are being generous, yet in the process, they sacrifice the things that bring meaning and fulfillment to their own life. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate our best selves, yet when we prioritize everyone else, how can we make time to develop our character, pursue our dreams, or even rest? Do you feel as if your own goals have taken a back seat? Reflect on how often you put your own dreams on hold for the sake of others. While helping is virtuous, abandoning our own path is not. Stoic philosophy reminds us that every person has a unique purpose, a daimon, or inner spirit, which guides them toward their best self. By neglecting this calling, we drift further from our own true purpose. Furthermore, overextending kindness can prevent us from confronting our own challenges. Sometimes we involve ourselves in others' problems as a distraction from our own unresolved issues or unfulfilled aspirations. Is it easier to help others than to focus on your own journey? Helping others can become a way to avoid facing our own fears, insecurities, or failures. Yet Stoicism encourages us to look inward, to confront and address our own life's purpose, instead of letting it dissolve in constant service to others. When our time and resources are overly directed toward others, our priorities become entangled in theirs. We become, as Marcus Aurelius describes, like a leaf blown by the winds of others' needs and expectations, no longer grounded in our own strength and convictions. We start to feel depleted, stretched thin, and disconnected from our own desires. Have you noticed a sense of emptiness creeping in when you neglect your own aspirations for too long? To live according to Stoic principles, we must learn to honor our own goals as well as those of others. This does not mean rejecting others or refusing to help, but rather, it means recognizing the importance of setting limits so that we can fulfill our own life's mission. Saying no to others at times is saying yes to our own goals. This, too, is an act of kindness, not only to ourselves, but to the people around us who will benefit from a more balanced and fulfilled version of who we are. As we conclude this section, reflect on this question. What would it look like if you prioritized your own needs with the same commitment you give to others? Stoicism teaches us that a life without purpose is a life unanchored, one in which we are easily led astray by external influences. Reclaiming our priorities is the first step to building a life of true fulfillment and strength. In the next section, we'll explore the reality of expectations in relationships. Stoicism encourages us to give without expecting returns, but when reciprocity fails to appear, how can we avoid disappointment? Let's dive deeper. 3. Reciprocity has an expiration date. Have you ever felt disappointed when a favor you gave was left unreturned? We often give with the hope, even unconsciously, that others will reciprocate in kind. However, this expectation can lead to profound disappointment and resentment when reciprocity does not materialize. Stoicism teaches us to give freely, without expecting anything in return. Yet, in a world that values exchange, we may find it challenging to truly let go of this expectation. Kindness is an admirable quality, but when it is coupled with an unspoken assumption that others will pay back our efforts, we set ourselves up for inevitable disillusionment. Even the most grateful people can forget our acts of kindness over time. Stoic philosophy urges us to find contentment in the act of giving itself, reminding us that our happiness should not hinge on others' reactions. Can we learn to embrace kindness without the need for validation? Consider a scenario where you've consistently helped a friend in times of need, offering your time, support, and perhaps even financial aid. Yet, when you encounter your own struggles, that same friend is nowhere to be found. The experience can feel like a betrayal, leaving you questioning the nature of your friendship and perhaps regretting your kindness. But does the value of your past actions truly disappear because they weren't reciprocated? Stoicism reminds us that we control only our own actions and responses, not the actions of others. In fact, expecting others to act according to our values is a recipe for disappointment. Stoic wisdom encourages us to see people as they are, not as we wish them to be. Epictetus famously stated, "There are two things to keep in mind, that there is nothing good or bad outside of our own choices, and that we should not try to lead events, but follow them." When we expect others to respond to our kindness in a particular way, we surrender our emotional well-being to circumstances beyond our control. So how can we practice generosity without letting unmet expectations sour our peace of mind? The key lies in practicing what the Stoics call detached generosity, giving for the sake of giving, rather than for any future reward. Detached generosity frees us from the emotional burden of expecting reciprocation, allowing us to experience the joy of kindness itself. Can we find satisfaction in the act of giving, regardless of whether our kindness is acknowledged? This approach to kindness is not a rejection of reciprocity, but rather a reminder that true fulfillment comes from within, not from external validation. In Stoicism, wealth lies in our ability to give freely and to find joy in doing so. If our well-being depends on others' responses, we become vulnerable to the whims of others. But by detaching from these expectations, we build resilience and preserve our inner peace. This isn't to say we should never expect support from others, but rather that we should give with open hands and a calm heart. When we accept that reciprocity has an expiration date, we avoid the bitterness that often follows when kindness is left unreturned. Instead, we find strength in the Stoic ideal of self-sufficiency. Our value and satisfaction come from within, rather than from what others give back. So, ask yourself, can you let go of expectations and enjoy the simple act of kindness? As we navigate our relationships, let's remember that the Stoic approach encourages us to direct our energies toward what we can control, our own actions and responses, rather than what lies beyond our influence. In the next section, we will delve into the impact of endless requests. How can we maintain our balance when the demands for our help seem limitless? Stay with us as we explore the fourth way. Excessive kindness can undermine your life. 4. You will be burdened by unlimited requests. Have you ever noticed that the more you give, the more people seem to ask? When kindness lacks boundaries, we may find ourselves becoming an endless source of help and support for others. Yet, while giving is a noble act, Stoicism reminds us that unchecked generosity can lead to an overwhelming burden of requests that seem to have no end. People often become accustomed to kindness. When you consistently offer help, others may start to expect it, viewing your generosity as a given rather than an extraordinary effort. This can lead to a one-sided dynamic, where your time and energy are continually directed outward, with little regard for your own needs. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of self-discipline and moderation, qualities that allow us to give freely, yet wisely, without allowing ourselves to be consumed by the demands of others. Think of a time when someone asked for your help, perhaps with a favor that took longer or required more effort than you initially thought. Maybe you told yourself it was just this once, only to find that similar requests kept coming. Soon, what began as a single act of kindness transforms into a pattern where others rely on you to solve their problems rather than taking responsibility themselves. How do you know when to say no? In Stoicism, we are encouraged to maintain our integrity by setting limits, even with kindness. The Stoics believed in the concept of temperance, a virtue that guides us to act with moderation in all things, including our generosity. This temperance is essential because without it, we risk losing control over our own lives, becoming instruments of others' needs and wants. If we continue to give without boundaries, we may find ourselves in a position where, rather than choosing to be kind, we feel obligated, and kindness begins to feel like a heavy chain rather than a free choice. Imagine a mother who spends years caring for her adult daughter's every need, making meals, running errands, and attending to all aspects of her life. While this care comes from a place of love, it prevents the daughter from learning to live independently. When the mother falls ill and can no longer provide support, the daughter is suddenly left to fend for herself, struggling with tasks she never had to handle before. This story illustrates how excessive kindness, despite the best of intentions, can unintentionally harm both parties. Are you helping others grow, or are you creating dependence? By setting boundaries, we empower others to take responsibility for their own lives. Stoicism teaches us that our generosity should not become a crutch for others, but rather a way to encourage self-sufficiency. When we refrain from solving every problem, we give others the opportunity to face challenges and grow stronger. This doesn't mean turning away from those in need, but rather giving thoughtfully without depleting our own resources. A healthy boundary signals respect, both for ourselves and for those we wish to help. Do you feel drained by the constant demands on your time and energy? It may be time to practice what the Stoics call detachment, allowing yourself to give only what you can without overextending. In detaching, we can maintain a sense of balance and inner peace, refusing to let others' needs dictate our lives. When we practice detached generosity, we give from a place of abundance, choosing when and how to help without feeling weighed down by obligations. Remember, in Stoicism, we are encouraged to keep a clear distinction between what is within our control and what is not. While we cannot control how much others ask of us, we do control our response. We choose whether to accept every request or to protect our own boundaries, ensuring that we remain whole and balanced. What might it look like if you practiced temperance in your kindness? By taking a step back and setting limits, we preserve our well-being, allowing us to help others more effectively in the long run. In the next section, we will delve into the most revealing aspect of excessive kindness, how it exposes who your true friends are and separates genuine connections from opportunistic ones. Stay tuned. 5. You will discover who your true friends are. You will discover who your true friends are. Have you ever wondered who among your friends truly values you for who you are, rather than for what you can offer? When kindness becomes a habit without boundaries, it often brings out the true nature of those around us. Stoicism encourages us to practice discernment in relationships, and nowhere is this wisdom more relevant than in uncovering the authenticity of our connections. Imagine you are always there for a friend, providing support, advice, and assistance whenever needed. Then, in a time of need, you reach out to them, only to be met with excuses or silence. This experience can be painful, leading us to question the sincerity of those friendships. Yet, as the Stoics teach, true friendships are based on mutual respect and genuine care, not on what each person can gain from the other. When we practice kindness with discernment, we begin to see who values us for our companionship and who sees us as a resource to be used. Consider the teachings of Seneca, who warned that a friendship based on gain is as fragile as the benefits it provides. In his writings, he cautions, "He who begins to be your friend because of the benefit will also cease because of the benefit." When we are overly generous, we may unintentionally attract people who seek only what we can provide, not a true connection. Do you want friends who value you, or simply those who value what you offer? Through the practice of kindness with moderation, we gain clarity on who will remain by our side when the benefits cease. Have you noticed how certain people only seem to reach out when they need something? Stoicism urges us to observe actions rather than words, to see if our kindness is appreciated or merely taken for granted. When we recognize these patterns, we have a choice: continue offering without expectation, or set boundaries to protect our peace and authenticity. This discernment doesn't mean withholding kindness, but rather practicing it with wisdom. By setting limits, we create space for genuine friendships to flourish. True friends will respect your boundaries and value you beyond what you provide. They will stand by you not only in moments of convenience, but also in times of challenge. Stoicism teaches us that authentic connections are grounded in mutual values and respect, not in one-sided giving. When we approach kindness in this balanced way, we nurture relationships that are enduring and meaningful. Have you ever felt hurt or betrayed by someone who took advantage of your kindness? The Stoic approach to friendship is a guide through these moments, encouraging us to embrace friendships that uplift us and to gracefully distance ourselves from those that do not. This process, while difficult, is essential for our well-being and emotional resilience. By observing how others respond when we establish boundaries, we see who respects us for who we are, and not just for what we give. In times of prosperity, as Epictetus reminds us, friends are easy to find. But it is in adversity that we truly discover who stands with us. Stoicism calls us to value quality over quantity in friendships, recognizing that genuine relationships provide support, growth, and respect for boundaries. When we take the time to discern true friends from mere acquaintances, we create space for connections that are rooted in mutual support rather than superficial needs. What might happen if you allowed yourself to be kind only within the bounds of respect and reciprocity? This question is at the heart of a Stoic approach to relationships. By cultivating meaningful connections, we enrich our lives with friendships that are as fulfilling as they are balanced. Our kindness, then, becomes an expression of our values rather than a source of exhaustion or regret. Excessive kindness, while well-intentioned, can lead us down paths we never intended, affecting our peace, priorities, and even our relationships. Stoicism teaches us that true kindness does not come at the expense of our own well-being. When practiced with wisdom, kindness becomes a gift both to ourselves and to those around us. Have these 5 lessons resonated with you? If you've ever felt that your kindness is taken for granted, or that you are giving at the expense of your own needs, perhaps it's time to reflect on these Stoic principles. Learning to set boundaries isn't selfish. It's an act of self-respect that allows us to live according to our own values. Thank you for watching this journey into the Stoic perspective on kindness. If you found these insights valuable, consider sharing your own experiences or questions in the comments below. Let us continue to grow together, practicing kindness that respects both ourselves and others. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might benefit from a new perspective on generosity. May you find strength, clarity, and peace in your journey of kindness.